right, to start off our React Andy segment of this week, we are starting with Ardetha, which is a home we've watched before. It does a lot of history of Dead by Daylight videos. This is one of them. This one is covering Shadowborn. Shadowborn. So, like with all of our React Andy segments, make sure that you hit that link that just showed up in the Twitch chat. If you're watching on the YouTube in the future, that will be down in the description below, because you want to support the official release of the video, because if you don't, I hate you. I don't know, nothing else. Don't be a freeloader. Don't be a freeloader. Hey, Saucy, it's been a while, friend. Hope you're doing well. It's good to see you. I appreciate you, friend. Hope you've been fine out in the world. Yeah, let's go over here and talk about the history of Shadowborn.
It's no secret that over the years, DBD has had plenty of controversial perks, whether it's due to incredibly high pick rates, game-breaking exploits, or the perks being simply overpowered. And
y'all remember people going to bring Haddonfield offerings for old Haddonfield and bring Balanced Landing? If you survived that, you are entitled to financial compensation.
For the most part, the way the dev team has handled these perks can be described
as... Oh, Temesis, you raided me. I am so sorry. I was away. My apologies, friend. Thank you so much for the raid. I didn't even spot that. It just said like raided from Temesis, and I was like, wait a minute, what?
Bizarre, to say the least. Whether it be ignoring them for literally years
Chair game a shout out, good job,
or
Chair.
giving them the most minuscule, meaningless changes imaginable, or even bouncing back and forth between random buffs and nerfs every now and then.
Does Behavior know what to do with Thanatophobia? They're like, okay, now it's OP. Okay, now it's not. Okay, now it's okay. Now it's not. I don't think they know what to do with Thanatos.
Surely this balance by dice roll style only applies to the outliers, right? Well, what if I told you that this also extends to some of the most mundane and seemingly simple perks ever? And how simple, you might ask? How about literally just field of view? Yes, I kid you not, even Shadowborn, a perk that literally just increases your field of view, has had a bumpy ride too. And
listen, I love Shadowborn, but I run it as I'm not going to run slowdown kind of perk. That's essentially what it is. I don't run it because, like, I run it on Nurse because it helps me with my motion sickness with her. But outside of Nurse, it's just like, I could use this perk for slowdown or something good, but I don't want to. I want to go, like, kind of nice. I want to play kind of moderately nice, so I'm just going to run on Shadowborn because that's a funny perk that doesn't really affect the match too much. You know? Recently, so I'm getting back into it. You picked a very, very good time. Very, very good time, Saucy. Very, very good. Because this Alien chapter is like chef's kiss. Perfect time to plunge back in. Perfect time. Perfect time.
I would even argue that once upon a time, the perk was straight up better than it is now. Well, fun-wise. The bumpy journey of Shadowborn starts all the way back in patch 1.0.0 on DBD's release day, all the way back on the 14th of June 2016 with the release version of Shadowborn, which was drastically
Shadowborn sounds like a cool D&D race. Oh yeah, I'm a level 6 Shadowborn
You have a keen vision in the darkness of the night. Your vision is 20% clearer and your field of view is considerably wider than normal. Highly sensitive to light, you get blinded 50% faster.
That part I don't like.
75% longer to recover from this condition.
I don't like that.
Okay, I know for you newer players that never got to experience this version of Shadowborn, your mind must be racing right now. 20% clearer vision? What? Getting blinded 50% faster? That's nuts. Nearly as nuts as 100,000 of you being subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much.
What you should do if you haven't already, I'm pausing you in the middle of your content, that if you skipped my hey, do this at the beginning, and you're still somehow this deep into the React and you haven't done this, help a homie out. It doesn't matter that they have a lot. This content is made possible by them, so sub. Or else, I don't know. I can't threaten you, because then I get in trouble, but, you know.
Guys are absolute legends. So let's set the scene as to why old Shadowborn was like that and why it actually made perfect sense. The first thing that's worth noting was that as this was a day one release perk, it was designed to fit in with how the devs thought the game would play, which was a much more stealth oriented, hide and seek type of playstyle.
Yeah, we're seeing it with TCM right now. Like it was like the first week it was like a healthy, fun party game, and now everybody's like speed running the exits, or like, hey, you know this perk's broken on Susie? Time to make a whole build around it just so I can be an obnoxious piece of shit. It's crazy how quickly things change. Based on what the devs want to happen versus what ends up actually happening.
Maps were darker, fog was thicker, those completely broken Moonlight offerings were still in the game. Seriously, if you don't know about the Moonlight offerings, check out my Bully Squads video linked in the description, because it was nuts.
You think immersion assault is bad now?
Looping wasn't even widespread back then. What this meant was survivors were expected to spend much more time hiding, doing everything in their power to prevent a chase from even
put the mag
starting,
down!
which meant crouching in bushes, dark corners, hiding in lockers, and any other little corner they could slot themselves into. Since the game was darker and foggier, it genuinely did require some proper scouting and hunting to spot people. So Shadowborn's role was effectively making you eagle-eyed, so you can observe much more at once and spot those people lurking in the shadows. And the faster blinding speed? That was once again playing into the fantasy of being more attuned to seeing in the dark.
The roleplay in Dead by Daylight?
Sensitive to light.
Wow.
While I argue that perks should be, well, perks, this downside did make a lot of sense given the game's landscape at the time.
It is really cool.
This of course played further into the fantasy.
It does have a grounding in
the
reality.
Hunter of DBD's roster, with his perks being geared towards finding and tracking survivors, and the general role.
Yeah, I agree, Nord. I don't know why there's not like availability to just like try out old offerings and stuff. Like I wish custom games gave like so much more control over the game, including the ability to try old stuff. Like I just think that'd be fun. And, like, if there's an update I want that is not tied to, like, new content at all that I would like a lot, it's just, like, fully flesh out custom games so you could just do a bunch of fun stuff. I would love that a lot.
The three killers were pretty clear. Wraith was the hunter, Billy was the chaser, and the trapper was the one that looked fancy in all the promotional material. This is likely the reason why you can't change your field of view in the options menu like every other game, as they
which you will be able to do soon.
To limit what the killers could see.
You will be able to soon.
Even to this day, the field of view gain from Shadowborn is loved by many, but I cannot express just how amazing that clearer vision felt. This was way before NVIDIA Freestyle was released, so outside of decimating your monitor's display settings, this was pretty much your only
doing
option.
that for games.
And again, with naturally darker maps, Moonlight offerings, and survivors actually hiding, it absolutely served a purpose. And in fact, Shadowborn must have been serving that purpose a bit too well, because in a sentence I'm sure you never thought you'd hear, Shadowborn would be getting a nerf. Just over a month since the game's release, in patch 1.0.5, on the 4th of August,
it already didn't do anything. What do you mean?
The first Shadowborn nerf would hit. Nerf dramatically reduced the field of view gain. For any long-time DBD players, I'm sure that sentence likely hit you with some slight nostalgia, because back in the day, we didn't get actual values like we do nowadays.
Yeah,
instead,
like what?
We just got phrases
I've read about
like
this.
Slightly, moderately, and tremendously to describe values, which, truth be told, wasn't particularly helpful, as half the time they'd be using the wrong words. For instance, in some killer add-ons, there would be multiple add-ons that did the same thing, but one would be described as a slight effect and the other would be a moderate effect. Yet in actuality, the one labeled as slight would have the same value as the one labeled as moderate, or sometimes even better than the one labeled as moderate. Anyway, after this nerf, Shadowborn's pick rate dropped lower and lower, and while its pick rate was nowhere near that of self-care or brutal strength, its pick rate did still go down, but it wasn't entirely directly because of the nerf. Introducing pallet looping. Of course, as we all know, players realised that due to survivors having a much smaller collision radius than killers, by running in loops around objects and structures, survivors could dramatically offset killers' faster movement speed, as they would effectively have to cover more distance compared to just running in a straight line.
So I think that looping's not intended.
The community as a whole was much worse at pallet
looping. Both from the killer and survivor perspective, is literally the core gameplay cycle of Dead by Daylight, and they did it on accident. If you ever meet one of those people that are like behavior can do no wrong kind of gamers, you know, like behavior is just like, thank you so much for making Dead by Daylight. Thank you, behavior. And they just defend him no matter what they do. Just tell them, you know, that main gameplay, you know, that like the main thing we do in Dead by Daylight, looping, whether you're killer or survivor, that was on purpose. The main thing you do in this video game was not on purpose. The whole point was by accident. Just tell them that.
Back then than they are nowadays, nonetheless, it did become widely known pretty quickly, and as a result, survivors felt more comfortable staying in the open and hiding less, making Shadowborn's scouting benefits less relevant. That being said, Pallet
Not the
leaking
lighthouse.
was far from the main
Tanner,
reason
stop
for
the lighthouse.
Shadowborn's decline, even earning a reputation of being actively bad, the same way no Mither would be nowadays. And the main reason would be none other than INSTABLINDS.
Shut up, Apple, don't say anything.
I've already done a whole video on INSTABLINDS, which is a
I've been flashbang.
hilarious watch, link in the description below, but basically survivors were able to speed up flashlight blinding to become almost instant
flashbang.
around
Oh, I'm
half a
sorry.
second. These absolute lightsabers quickly
Shut up.
became
Wow, you were
the
gonna say
bane
them.
of killer players'
them.
existence,
I knew
as
you were gonna say
Shadowborn
them.
didn't make killers immune to blinding like it does nowadays. With a fast sensitivity and fast reaction speeds, good killers could avoid the instablinds mid-chase, but taking that half a second blinding
No, but they're
speed,
fun, but
then
not good.
speeding it up even
lot of people agree it's
further
not good.
with Shadowborn's 50% faster blinding speed, you'd have to be out of your mind. So, despite how incredible it felt, objectively speaking, it was a terrible perk compared to the other meta picks at the time.
I mean, technically it still is. It really is just field of view. It is just a comfort thing. It is still absolutely terrible and no reason to run it. I literally run it because I'm like, that's not going to be a slowdown slot, so might as well run something that makes the game look a little nicer, I guess. I don't know.
Time like brutal strength and enduring, which were both absolutely core on killers for multiple reasons that might be worth a video on its own. It wouldn't be until the 27th of April 2017 in patch 1.5.0 where Shadowborn would receive a buff. Increase the field of view gain. While the perk would claw back some of that juicy field of view that it had before, it would continue to see an even lower pick rate. Why is that, you may ask? Well, that's because 2 months prior, on the 11th of May 2017, the devs added none other than the Doctor. with
Dr.
his
Shocker.
own field of view perk, Monitor and Abuse,
Doc?
which
You
was
shock.
simply more useful and also safer since it didn't have the blinding debuffs that Shadowborn had, at the expense of also not having the clearer vision either. So anybody that really wanted a higher field of view would simply use Monitor and Abuse instead, alongside the added
You just
bonus of
watched
having
me
a
just, like,
smaller terror
cease
radius
to
whenever
function.
not in a chase.
I had a thought and it
Monitor
immediately
and
left
Abuse
me.
also had even more
You
factors
just watched a glitch
working
in my
its
Matrix.
favor. For starters, reducing the killer's terror radius by 8 meters was incredibly useful for Michael Myers, who was also added to the game
And
during
Alien
this
now.
time.
And Alien now.
Since in tier 2
Very
of
good
Evil
perk on
Within,
Alien.
which is the tier he spends most of his time in, he only had a terror radius of 16 meters.
And then you can Dead
compared to
Rabbit, make it
every
even
other
worse.
killer at 32 meters at the time. So by using Monitor and Abuse, he could reduce it by a further 8 meters, completely halving it. This made him much more effective at being stealthy and was pretty much core on him for quite a while. The perk also somewhat synergized with its owner, the Doctor, and his old kit. He actually used to be a stance switcher with
Yeah,
2
which is really
modes he could
weird.
switch between. And he also had a passive where any survivor
Ew, look
within
at his
terror
arm. Look
radius
at his
would
wrist.
slowly
Ew, look at that animation. Ew. It's like his wrist is snapping, fixing itself and snapping again. Ew. Watch this. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
switcher with 2 modes he could switch between. And he also had a passive where
make
any
it stop.
survivor within
Make
his
it
terror
stop.
radius would
Oh,
slowly
it's
but
gross, it's
constantly
disgusting.
gain madness. So if he was in a chase, Monitor and Abuse instead inverts and increases the killer's terror radius by 8 meters. So he could apply this constant madness to all survivors in a whopping 40 meters of him.
Up.
The only iffy part is that the first
Like
time
Alaska.
any survivor entered his terror
You're right,
radius,
dude.
they
Homie,
instantly
thank you so much
hit
for Prime
tier
Gaming
1
again.
scream, revealing their
Streak.
position. And Doctor players
Streak.
would use that for a very
Hopefully not actually streaking. That's illegal. But thank you for the 2 months, friend. I very much appreciate that. Very kind of you, bud. I'm sorry for bullying you out of changing your name, but hey, it fits you better, so, you know, all is well that ends well.
very fast early game chase, so the reduced terror radius whenever he wasn't in a chase did affect him somewhat negatively. Due to its extremely limited use, 8 months later, on the 14th of December 2017, in patch 1.8.3, Shadowborn would receive some changes. Buff no longer causes killers to get blinded 50% faster.
Yeah, because he was role-playing in
Buff
DVD.
no longer causes killers to recover from blindness slower. Buff further increased the field of view gain, surpassing that of Monitor and Abuse. But unfortunately, there was one more change. NERF no longer grants the killer clearer vision.
Darn.
While Shadowborn had finally lost that debuff that made it
Other Bran guy still around? Bran too?
unusable, it
Yeah,
had
he's
also
resident
been
Bran now.
reduced to literally just a field
Homie's
of
like
view
my best friend.
increase and nothing else,
Love
how
Bran
it
dude.
stands today.
doesn't stream
change
anymore.
was
He's here all
likely
the time.
made for the same reason they removed the Moonlight offerings, as the devs stated that they wanted more control over the lighting of the maps, so they were now free to tune DBD's lighting to
that's
the
a
fullest,
evil body block.
so we can get much more vivid,
Sorry, I'm watching the gameplay.
vibrant, and accurate lighting, and totally not just slapping blue, green, or yellow over the entire map and calling it a day. While Shadowborn is objectively much better than it used to be, I personally believe that the perk just being a field of view increase leaves it as nothing more than a relic of a bygone era.
And what are they going to do it once? Because Shadowborn is now going to be a slider in the menu soon enough. So Shadowborn's just going to do something completely different soon. Who knows what's going to do now?
As stealth was used regularly, hunting was a big part of the game, and there was a heavier focus on the fantasy of killer designs and minimal concern
Another
for
stealth
balance.
bird?
I'd argue that it's time for field of view to finally be made into a slider. For example,
It's
we
rating
finally
me, rating me, rating me, rating me, rating.
got frame rate, VSync, and anti-aliasing options added into the game after all these years with the Alien chapter. So
Yeah,
Shadowborn
best
will
chapter.
get a new tracking-focused effect like the rest of the Rave's perks.
Or
I'd love
stealth
for
bird.
it to just get
On
that
the stealth
clearer
killer.
vision effect back, but I think that ship has sailed.
No. Okay. Yeah, I think it's kind of wild to even see that, like, Shadowborn got nerfed, because it already basically didn't do anything. So the fact that they're so, they even nerfed this at all, it's just kind of like, why? like of all the things to take shot at, it's like, Shadowborn? Really? Okay. Yeah, I mean, Shadowborn's going away. Shadowborn, as we know, is going away. FOV is becoming a slider. They did confirm that in the Reddit Ask Me Anything. Who knows what's coming? They haven't given a timetable on it, but it is coming. So, what is it going to turn into? I like Jason's idea of turning it into another stealth perk because, well, it comes on a stealth killer. I wouldn't mind another tracking perk. Basically, anything that's not more slowdown, but is a fun perk to use is kind of like generally what you want to put in the game. So, yeah, I like something like that. But I'm also very excited for the field of view slider, especially considering the fact that, like, for example, I get very nauseous playing Nurse. I don't know why. It's like the one character in the game I get kind of sicky playing. I literally have to run Shadowborn, and even while I run Shadowborn, I still kind of can't play it for more than like once or twice without like getting kind of motion sick. So not having to run Shadowborn on Nurse will be nice, and actually just, you know, pump up the slider and call it a day. It can slow down at dimension. No, stop. Nope. Yeah, I can't wait to see what Shadowborn becomes. I'm very, very excited for the field of view slider to be just a thing that you can do in the game. And yeah, that's about how I feel. Nothing else to add. Don't ramble. Rambling is for cringe lords.